Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Grave Intentions, and this is a new horror anthology series from directors Lucas Hassel, Brian Patrick Lim, Gabriel Olson, Matthew Richards, Brian Rish, Jacqueline Rish, and Jaime Snyder. And this film focuses on a woman, a practitioner of magical arts teaching, who walks the audience through different items, and each of these items connects to a story. And then we're whisked away to experience a chilling and terrifying new tale for each of these different things that this teacher has to offer. I appreciated the framed narrative that this anthology series utilizes, because that's one of the biggest challenges with anthologies is, like, how do you pull them together? Why can't they just be just a bunch of short films separate from each other? You have to have something that connects it. And there's an interesting way that this connects with this one teacher, this practitioner of these magical arts and crafts, trying to build a bigger perspective for us as an audience as we get a deep dive into these different kinds of things that have these magical abilities. And then we get whisked away to each of these different stories. And you have the initial story with the likes of Catherine Carlin and Robert Forster, rest in peace, and Beth Grant. And that one definitely has some of the strongest acting in it, and intriguing little premise. You have a couple different stories here, some of which are more interesting than others, some of which are a little more serious than others. You have this one where a woman's keeps getting attacked by her black cat, and there's some interesting puppetry utilized in it, which leaves some fun and gives you an interesting perspective on it. Could be a little bit funnier. There's one in particular with a young boy, the son and the father, which I don't know how much that really hit with me. It really didn't feel like it packed the same punch as the other ones. Most of them have a nice, solid, driving home punch at the end of each of the stories to really leave that lasting impression in your mind, so that when you're thinking about them later, you don't just forget about each of the individuals and you could appreciate each of them separately. And you have that one. The last one, which has this young girl who is being influenced by this darker spirit to rebel against her auntie, and it gets gruesome and dark and takes some twisted turns. And this is only an hour and 25-minute anthology, and between each of them you have this woman talking for quite a few minutes. So each of these little stories aren't very long, and most of them work very well in their time frame, their briskness, and that one in particular didn't feel like it fully hit on all cylinders. And there's definitely moments you could see where its budget shows and kind of brings the vibe of the film down a little bit. But in general, I felt like most of the actors really brought it. The first one had such genuine veteran talents. Robert Forster just was in one scene. It felt so genuine and meaningful in his performance, and you really understood and felt his character. And you have some really strong actors in this film. You also have a few of these stories that have very strong premises, and some of them utilize their filmmaking and storytelling in a really meaningful and impactful way to leave some scares. And this, when it really comes down to it, I don't think it's a game-changing kind of horror film, but there's a couple of these stories that really stand out. They're effective, they're scary, they're eerie, they're unnerving. And some of them don't hit as hard as effective as some of the other ones. But very few times do you get an anthology where everything's firing on all cylinders. For me, this wasn't quite one of them, but it definitely had a lot of promise and success in a few of them. So this is one I would definitely recommend. But those are my thoughts on Grave Intentions. Let me know what you think. Let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.